Tell me all about the new things in the monk.
There is so much. When we embarked on creating the new player's handbook, we knew that the monk was going to get a lot of attention, partly because the monk's satisfaction scores over the last decade have often been, unfortunately, a bit low.
Yeah.
And the monk, in terms of actual play numbers, has tended to be low as well. That combination told us this class needs some attention.
Yeah.
Now, every class got a lot of loving attention, but we knew the monk was going to need some deep work done to it. And the deep work that we did in the monk, similar to deep work we did in the ranger, really amounts to this class and the ranger largely being new classes. When you look at the features for the monk, you look down that list, you're going to see a lot of familiar friends, but also you're going to see some new things. That is evident right away at first level when you dig into the main feature of the monk at that level, martial arts, where you will find out that right away your selection of monk weapons has been broadened to be all simple melee weapons, as well as martial melee weapons that have the light property. That's going to give you some more flexibility than you had before. And we've also now made it so that you can now make, with this feature, a unarmed strike as a bonus action regardless of what else you're doing on your turn. We used to have it so that the monk had to set up their bonus action unarmed strike before they could do it. Now you don't need the setup. You just simply have always the option to make an unarmed strike as a bonus action. Now, there's even more going on here than that suggests, because we have in the rules glossary redesigned the unarmed strike itself. And this is a redesign that affects all characters, but will be especially felt by monk players because of how often monks make unarmed strikes. So it used to be in 2014 that the unarmed strike was just a way for anybody to deal some damage if they were without a weapon.
Yeah.
Now, monks and a few other characters were happy to make unarmed strikes because they often were very effective at them. What we've now done is we have made it so that when you make an unarmed strike, you now have three options of what it does. It can deal damage, like it did before, or you can try to initiate a grapple, or you can try to shove your target. Really what we've done is we've taken three different things that used to exist on their own in the game, dealing unarmed damage, grappling, and shoving, and we've combined them all into your unarmed strike.
You've kind of weapon masteried unarmed strikes, basically.
And we did this for everyone so that you had sort of a single place you could go to for the cool options for your character when you are throwing down with your fists, or you're wrestling, or you're just trying to push someone back. But we also wanted to make it so that the monk could really benefit from this, because this means, unlike in 2014, any time the monk is making an unarmed strike, including as a bonus action, that unarmed strike could be dealing damage, or it could be starting a grapple, or it could involve shoving somebody. That means the monk has an amount of tactical versatility that is with their unarmed strikes, which is akin to the tactical versatility that our weapon users have who are using weapon mastery.
Absolutely.
But a whole lot is fun is hiding out in the unarmed strike itself and how it then combines with the monk's various abilities that use the unarmed strike. And that is evident right away in the martial arts feature.
You can just be pushing someone all around the map.
Yes. And also, boom, bonus action, starting a grapple.
Yeah.
Later on, as monks are able to get more and more unarmed strikes on their turn, each of those unarmed strikes could be a different one of these options.
Yeah.
You could be shoving one person, starting a grapple with another, punching them, kicking away the other person with the shove. It is really cinematic and exciting in actual play.
Yeah.
The monk, through this martial arts feature, can now use their dexterity rather than their strength to set the DCs for the new grappling and shove options that are inside the unarmed strike. So we wanted to make sure that the monk, who is most interested in having a high dexterity and secondarily a high wisdom, that they did not need to then sort of also need to have a really good strength. We wanted monks to be able to take that dexterity and have it even support them when they're using their grappling and shoving options within unarmed strike. Monks also have their martial arts die. And this is the die that they use for their unarmed strikes. It's also the die that they can use with their monk weapons. And as they go up in level, at various times the die improves, which then means, of course, the damage of their unarmed strikes is improving and the damage of their monk weapons is potentially improving, depending on what the weapons damage die was originally. Across the board, the martial arts die has been improved. And so it now starts at a D6 at level 1 and goes all the way up to a D12 at level 17, which means monks have just simply had a buff across the board on their damage output. Because we realized, digging into the intricacies of the class's math, that it just was not delivering the amount of damage that it should. And so this is a rare case in this player's handbook of a class just simply getting
a flat-out damage buff.
Just a flat-out damage buff.
Yeah.
And we were able to do that because this is also the unusual class that has so much of its damage passing through a single feature, and in this case it's the martial arts feature. Whereas we have other classes where damage is instead routing through different weapons, it's routing through different spells, whereas with the monk, so much funnels through this level 1 feature. You ready for some more monk excitement?
Yes, I am ready for more monk excitement. I'm concerned that this is going to be a 3-hour video on the monk.
So, at level 2, we made it a level.
Wow! We got to level 2.
So, in the new feature called Monk's Focus, this is a replacement for a feature that used to be called Key, and this has changed in way more than just name. It is, other than sort of some surface details of you get some points to spend on various things, there are so many functional changes in here that I'm glad just for that reason alone that the feature has a new name to signal to people.
Yeah.
Pay very close attention to this because in the new Monk's Focus, you have a pool of points that are now called focus points to spend not only on the options that are in this feature, but also a number of the options that appear later in the class. And anyone curious about using any monk material that was published prior to this book, anything that referred to key points in the past should essentially just be read as now referring to focus points. Inside this feature, you still have these sub-options that were there before, but they're really only here in name. Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, and Step of the Wind. I say they're here really only in name because so much has changed functionally, because there have been major enhancements here. First, Patient Defense now lets you take the disengage action as a bonus action without spending any points.
Wow.
Before it required points.
Yeah.
Now, when you get Monk's Focus, you simply gain the ability to take the disengage action as a bonus action. Similarly, the Step of the Wind component of Monk's Focus lets you take the dash action as a bonus action. So what these now do that relates to focus points is you can now use focus points to enhance them. So for example, you could spend a focus point with patient defense to, yes, take the disengage action as a bonus action, but also the dodge action at the same time. Similarly, Step of the Wind on its own lets you just take the dash action as a bonus action, or you can spend a focus point to be able to take the disengage and dash actions together and have your jump distance doubled for the rest of the turn.
Jeez.
And so now spending your focus points, rather than it unlocking the base ability, is instead about enhancing the base ability. Now, Flurry of Blows is the one of these three options within Monk's Focus that only has a version where you spend focus points on it.
Yeah.
And that is you spend a focus point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. The reason why it doesn't have a sort of freebie version like Patient Defense and Step of the Wind.
Oh, you've already gotten that.
Exactly. You got the freebie version back at first level.
Yeah.
Because at first level, you now get the ability to just, for free as a bonus action, boom, use your unarmed strike.
Yeah.
So now what Flurry of Blows does is let you enhance that by spending a focus point. I really love this new approach where, again, your focus points in a way are about amping up the volume rather than needing them to do your baseline
You don't need them for the identity of this class. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Because now the way we've structured it, even if you're out of focus points, you can do all the baseline monk things.
Yeah.
And focus points now become just really cool spice. That's how you crank it up. Focus points are also critical for some of your higher level abilities that can be used only with focus points. Now, we also took to heart, though, that even though we had lessened how many of your baseline things require focus points, that monks have often felt focus point constrained and too constrained. Because we always want, when there is a limited resource in the game, for there to be a sense of limit. I mean, that's the point, for you to feel like your resource decisions matter, and for there to be that growing sense of danger as you see, you're basically your power tank going down toward empty, whether it's focus points or spell slots or something else. But even with all of that in mind, we felt we could give monks a little more breathing room. And so with that in mind, at level 2, they get a brand new feature after all this other brand new called Uncanny Metabolism. And what this lets the monk do is, when they roll initiative, just decide to regain all their expended focus points. You're getting this feature now at level 2. Now, once you use this feature, you can't do it again until you finish a long rest. But that means once per day, when a battle starts, you can just say, I get all my points back. And that's not all. You also regain a certain number of hit points when you do that. So this uncanny metabolism is you just drawing in your personal resources and saying, I'm ready for another fight. And that's probably going to keep you going for the rest of the adventuring day, or at least a good part of it.
Nice.
Now, when you get to level 3...
We're at level 3.
You now get deflect attacks, and this feature has been redesigned so that it is more versatile than it was before. This used to be the feature that gave you a chance of catching a projectile that was fired at you, and if you managed to zero out the damage completely, you then had the option of trying to hurl it back. And then there were some complexities of the nature of that projectile affected the damage that you were sending back. We wanted it to be easier and more fun for monks to use this ability. And so what we did is we now made it easier, just the whole operation, for the monk to figure out, how they reduce the damage. we no longer care about the physical quality of the thing that's hitting you. All we care about in this rule now is that it deals bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. So whatever it is that's coming in, you can try to deflect it and reduce the damage. And then if you reduce it to 0, and that reduction, by the way, is you roll a d10 and you add your dexterity modifier and your monk level. And if all of that combined zeroes the damage out, you have the option of spending a focus point to then basically redirect the attack's force towards somebody else. And now that other target now has to make a saving throw, and if they fail, you get to do an amount of force damage to them based on your martial arts dice. And remember, your martial arts dice are way better than they used to be.
Yeah.
This feature gets even spicier at higher level, and I'm going to skip ahead because later on...
Eventually it's energy.
Yes. All the way at level 13, you get a feature now called Deflect Energy, where you can now use deflect attacks to deflect any damage type. No matter what it is, whatever energy is coming in, the monk with their preternatural abilities can use their focus to bounce that fire over there, deflect that wave of thunder towards somebody else. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, that's amazing.
In addition to their damage output being improved, we have also looked at ways to improve their survivability. And that's evident in how their superior defense feature works at level 18. It is also evident in their disciplined survivor ability, which is what they can use to reroll saving throws. It's also especially evident at level 10 in their self-restoration ability, which is a new feature that combines elements that they used to have in other features, where when they get to the end of their turn, if they're charmed, frightened, or poisoned, and again, this is at level 10, they can just say, "No, I'm not." And before, this had an action economy cost associated with it. No, not anymore. Now just the monk, they get to their end of their turn, and it is literally this good. If they're charmed, frightened, or poisoned, nah. We really wanted monks to have this kind of superheroism in how not only they fight others, but also in how they're able to keep themselves alive. We also have adjusted in a level 10 feature called Heightened Focus what you can do with Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, and Step of the Wind. So we already enhanced those 3 options back at level 2. Well, when you get to level 10, they all get even better. And we did this because these 3 options are so fundamental to the monk. One being about keeping themselves alive in the form of patient defense. Flurry of Blows is essentially their damage output option for their monk's focus, and Step of the Wind is their mobility option. And again, all 3 get better at level 10. In between, when they got those features back at level 2 and them getting improved at level 10, they also now have their Stunning Strike, which has been adjusted. Now, this is one of the only places in the monk where a feature's power got toned down a slight bit.
Right, yeah.
And we don't feel bad about it, given how much the monk has been buffed.
Yeah.
We've now made it so that Stunning Strike can be used just once per turn, because there have been cases in the past 10 years where Stunning Strike can get a little out of hand if a monk player uses it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But I think the sting of that limitation will pass very quickly when people realize that we've now made it that if the target, even if they succeed on their saving throw, they're still affected to a certain extent. So if they fail their saving throw against your Stunning Strike, they're stunned, as you would expect. If they succeed on their saving throw, their speed is halved until the start of your next turn, and the next attack roll made against them has advantage. So when you use Stunning Strike, it's going to have an effect on your target. And really, they're making a saving throw to find out what that effect is going to be. So in the end, Stunning Strike actually got buffed. It's really, we've limited how often you can use it.
That's perfect.
So on top of all of that,
Yeah.
monks, like everybody else, get Epic Boon at 19th level, and also then have some majorly enhanced subclasses.
The New Player's Handbook is available for pre-order right now on D&D Beyond. You can find that link in the video description. And you can also find the new Core Rulebooks bundle for pre-order, both physical and digital.
And if you pre-order the digital 2024 Player's Handbook on D&D Beyond, you get exclusive bonuses. 12 sets of digital dice representing each class, 10 new frames, and 5 new backdrops. And all of those bonuses are available right now on D&D Beyond.
Thank you so much for watching. We have a ton of video content coming out about the New Player's Handbook and all the new Core Rulebooks, the new Monster Manual, the new Dungeon Master's Guide. So be sure to check out all of that content. And thank you for watching.